hats off to NASCAR, Fox, and the stakeholders that got together and made this happen. There's always going to be a winner and a loser when it comes to situations like this. Obviously, there's a lot of fans that purchased tickets that didn't get to. They couldn't get to the track. Maybe some did. Were local in the area and got to go to the race for free. They didn't already purchase a ticket, but I was pretty confident, and it's going to be TBD, but I was pretty confident this race was never going to happen if it did not happen Saturday.
What do you know about this decision? Like, was this an easy decision for NASCAR to make? Just seeming that it was fairly unprecedented, right? To move it up. Like, it just so happened that they had the time slot on Fox. I'm just curious from your point of view, because you tweeted out that this might get moved before it was officially announced.
I mean, we got a mole in the in the camp. We got the guy that moves mountains. So I'm sure it was not an easy decision for sure. I mean, certainly if you try to pull back the curtain on it, more than likely NASCAR had been meeting on this probably to try to come up with contingency plans all week, right? I mean, they've got a lot to plan for. They've got a halftime performance show, and how does that pivot from one day to the next? I mean, I don't know. There was just a lot of things, and I think that the forecast just kept getting worse. It really did, right? I mean, if you were to ask on Tuesday, Wednesday, it's a 70-80% chance of rain on Sunday, and then there was a portion of the week, Sunday doesn't look too bad now, and then all of a sudden, I guess some storms come together, and it's just going to pour there for the next few days. So, I mean, it happened. I can't. I looked, and nobody really can come up with a time where a race had happened early, a day early versus days late. But certainly this was the only opportunity to get this race in, it seemed. So they made a tough decision, but in the end, it was the only decision that could be made to watch a race.
When were you given a heads up about this, and did it change the way your Saturday went, considering heat races were canceled? So the qualification system of getting into the race has now changed, right? It's just going to be qualifying. The fastest 23 cars are going to be in the race. Does it change the way your team approached the day?
How did I know? I'm not going to reveal that part because then I won't get any information. But I only knew 20 minutes before everyone else knew. They kept it pretty tight-lipped. Obviously, they had some closed-doors meetings when it came to this, but it didn't really change. I don't think it changed a lot for our 11 team in particular. I mean, maybe some other teams, right, that don't come off the truck really well, they're going to be scrambling, right, to try to know that they got to nail this third practice to even make the race itself. I'm trying to think neither one of their cars made it, right? Was there any other organization that had no other cars? Everyone else had a car, right?
RFK had both cars in the race?
No. There was a lot of teams. I think, am I wrong to say 2311 and Hendrick were the only two organizations with all their cars?
All the
cars. I mean, other than JTG's single car.
Right.
So
multi-car teams.
Right. So I think those were the only ones, but I mean, yeah, Seabell missing it was a huge shock. He was fast in practice. I think they made a decision, as far as I understand it, to put on scuffed tires. The tires were just so interesting at that track that it seemed like it took a few laps. When I say a few laps, like 10, 15 for them to get heat in them to run fast laps. It's very different than any other. I don't know what the combination of the track and the tire was that took a long time to get going. Like any other racetrack, I mean, it's just we take off, we're going, and we got about 3 corners to nail it perfect to run a fast lap. So that track is very interesting in that aspect. You see us under caution, just really keeping the tires warm as much as we can. It's why you see some of the mayhem that you see on restarts is that the tires are cold and we're just sliding all over the place. The lap times, it's crazy. It's a second difference, at least a second, for like the first 10 laps once we get going, until something hits the switch and gets grippy and the track starts taking heat. So that makes for a lot of mayhem. We did see a lot of mayhem. Other big names that missed it. You got Chris Buescher, right? Josh Berry and his new ride. I'm off the cuff here. I don't have a list. Austin Cindric, Austin Dillon. Austin Dillon ran second and third, I think, in the Clash. The previous 2 years, didn't make it this year. But it's...
I mean, even to note, your reigning Cup Series champion, Ryan Blaney, needed the provisional
he had to
make the race.
Right. And a fellow Final Four driver, Christopher Bell, didn't make it, right? I mean, you got to think, he's probably thinking, surely the three guys that finished ahead of me in points, Ryan Blaney, Kyle Larson, and William Byron, they're fast enough. They'll be in the top 22, and no matter what, I'm going to have a comfort place to fall back on. Certainly, I mean, from my perspective, I thought about it during the week. I'm like, well, I mean, for one of those guys to not make the top something after heat races and last chance, like, surely I'll be able to get in no matter what. But yeah, what I thought it did do is put a lot of pressure and build up to actual qualifying, right? I mean, we had guys watching this thing and getting bumped out, getting bumped in. Oh, you're now on the bubble. And this is the bubble that is, you cannot come back from. It's, you're going home after this. So I thought that it had a lot of merit to, not everyone has to make it. I mean, that's just, my opinion. Now, maybe this race, I don't know. I saw where Justin Marks tweeted, well, everyone should make the race, if he had his way. I get that, especially in this type of deal where the teams financially, this is not a good race for the teams whatsoever. If you notice, the purse is, probably like a quarter of what a normal purse would be. It still costs the race teams the same amount of money, if not more, to go out to LA. So than it does any other points race. The strain, other than the pit crews, which they're all salaried, so that doesn't matter anyway. It's just the travel of them. So the race pays a quarter of what other races do. That's why, you're going to hear teams say, man, we just spent all this money coming out here to put on a show for you guys, and we're not even allowed to race. I'm of the opinion, though, that like less is more. It's not having big names sometimes. I'm not saying not make races, but like all-star races should be for all stars, right? I mean, the playoffs should be for the best. If you just keep inviting everyone, it's not that prestigious anymore, right? So I am definitely a fan of less is more. I thought it cleaned up the race quite a bit.
Some speculation that the NASCAR in LA, at least at the Coliseum, has run its course. It's been 3 years. This was the year 3. If it moves on from LA next year, or the Coliseum, what's next for the Clash, in your opinion?
I don't know. I mean, certainly I think that's the chatter today, right? Is that everyone's just kind of moved on from what happened yesterday and what now, right? They want to know what now. I don't know what now. Honestly, I gave my opinion on the financials. I think it should pay as much as a normal race. That would make me more open to go anywhere, as far as that's concerned. I don't know. We mentioned on the podcast last week, right? When you took it from Daytona, it took away from the storylines a little bit. There was always a correlation of the person that wins the Clash or someone that looks strong or leads the Clash at Daytona, they are going to be the ones to beat for the Daytona 500. Now we do not know until qualifying, like whose car's going to be fast. And with the lack of practice that we have now for the 500, it makes even more sense to be at Daytona. But do I want to go? There's no way I want to go tear up multiple cars at 2311 financially. The old model just doesn't work. The show, it just costs too much money for us to go tear up a bunch of cars if it was back at Daytona. I don't know the answer. I saw, the popular suggestion is invest in the infrastructure of the short tracks. So, say you went to a short track, NASCAR, go spend some money on it, making sure the facility is a little bit nicer. That facility gets to reap the benefits of that infrastructure upgrade for that race for many, many years after that. And then you get to highlight some local short tracks. That's great in theory, but there's just financials there that I think NASCAR is going to be apprehensive to just spend money to help someone else out and not reap benefits from it. So I don't know whether that will work. I mean, ideally, I don't know. I don't know what the right answer is. I wish there was an easier answer to it. I would probably vote that we did not have the Clash and we run more practice before the 500. I think that's a better use of resources. I think that is a better build up for the Daytona 500. Now, the negative to it is you're losing a race in an event on TV that has had 2 or 3 million viewers. So I don't know how you make up for that.
And the opportunity to take your sport to a new city or a new demographic that you probably won't be able to do in the regular season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, other than the All-Star race, right? I mean, you could turn North Wilkesboro into a points-paying event and make this the All-Star. The Clash is the All-Star in essence. I don't know. I haven't had enough time to really think about it. Interested to see, kind of where social media takes this thing in the future. But surely NASCAR is not just twiddling their thumbs on it. I know Ben Kennedy's really working hard to try to get a schedule together sooner than later. They've already got, probably ideas of what they do with this event next. But regardless, I think everyone needs to look at LA and, both thank LA for welcoming us to come there. I mean, we take a stadium and we tear it apart for weeks, and then they build it back. I thought it was a huge success, no matter what, to our TV audience. It was a big bump in that. And so whatever the next chapter is, if there is a next chapter, we'll just see what it is. When you kind of digest this whole Chastain Larson thing, you definitely have to go back earlier